Welcome back to Maine Tiny Homestead, and today we're going to be thinning the carrots. Come along and I'll show you what we have to do. Now here's the carrot patch. I probably should have did this a few weeks ago, but it has been raining here non-stop for what feels like 40 days and 40 nights. And the carrots have really gotten tall and really need to be thinned out now. So the first thing we're going to do, if I can get you to see how close these are. First thing I'm going to do is look and see if there's any weeds in there. If there's any weeds, I'm going to pull all of those out first. Then I'm going to look and see, if I can pull this back for you. I'm going to look and see what's developed, what's really small, and what's starting to take off. So if I look at, well, there's a weed right in there. So if I look at this carrot looks pretty good, but see, there's another one right next to it. So what I'm gonna do is leave that bigger one, and then I'm gonna pull out the one that's right next to it. And look how big this one is that I'm pulling out. See, I waited too long. I'm actually just gonna save these then, and then I'm just gonna chop them up in my salad. So I brought my basket and I'll just throw them all in there. Now the one thing we're gonna do now is, as you're thinning these, you're kind of disturbing the roots of the other one, right? So we're gonna wanna pat down around everything as we take one out. And then I'll give it a good water, even though it's kind of soaked in here. I'm just gonna water it just a little bit. It's gonna get really hot today for the first time, so I want these to be all set. So I'm gonna go through here and I'm gonna see what we have. There's a lot to do here. So that looks like one established one. That's another one. And you know what? I'm just gonna leave those. But as we get over here, it's a little bit more messier, and you can see got some smaller ones in here. So I'm gonna pull out the small one, and that one's really small, so we're not gonna even save that one. But we're just gonna go through here and then look at behind here is another one. And those are just taking up space. So if I look in here, you know, I got a couple of inches, an inch in between here, half an inch there. I'm also gonna pull this one as well. So now I have 4 of them that are really good right there. Now you might wonder what I have this, what is this twine and roping doing? I'm kind of doing an experiment with the onions because I have the carrots planted in between my 2 onion rows. This side of the onions, I did an experiment where I put this vine across so that I could kind of stake the tall greens because they were flopping over way too early. On this side, I didn't stake them. So all I'm trying to do is just see if there's a way for the greens to be lifted up and not fall over. Do they produce bigger onions? So we don't know that yet, but that's why you see the twine in between here, and it makes it a little more difficult to do this. Again, I should have did this before I even did that, but the rain has just been relentless. And today's only the 2nd day of sunshine in about a month. So now over here, it's a little more dense because this is a full row. So I'm going to have to really go through this and pick through which ones I'm going to take out and which ones I'm going to keep. So just get all this stuff out of the way so you can really see what's going on down here, right? So this one in the front, I'm going to take this one out. And then I got 2 right here. I'm going to take the smaller one out, and we're going to leave the larger one in. And just going to compact it around it as I take them out. Now this one's even worse because this has got 3 of them right in there. So I'm going to try to get in there and take all these little ones out. Look how small these are. Oops. See how small these are? They're just in the way. And they're not really going to develop by this time. So anything that's tiny on the edges, get rid of that stuff. And if you get a big one like this, let's leave that one in there. So that's what I'm going to do. This is probably going to take me a little bit to go through here, but I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, and in between this row is done. See how I parted these two away from each other so I could kind of see what was going on. And this is thinned out, believe it or not. I could probably even thin it out more, but I'm not gonna. So that's kind of what we're looking like when it's been thinned. All right, so I pushed the ground back down around each one that I pulled out. So as you might be able to see down here, like I got all my finger marks in here. And then these are all good. And then what I'm gonna do is just flip these back up, and they're still wet from dew, so I'm trying to get it done before the heat starts this morning. And then I'm gonna flop that over that way, and then I'm gonna do this next row. Here's a good pile to show you. See how densely populated those are right here? I'm gonna thin them out so they look more like this, where you got space in between them. I'm looking for the biggest ones. This one looks good. So I'm gonna pull the next one. In between here. And if you can't get them, you could just cut the tops off, and that stops it from growing. If you're afraid to damage the one next to it. So see how much better that looks now that it's thinned out? So now there's only like 3 carrots there instead of 20. They'll have a much better chance to grow to full capacity. So that looks a lot better, doesn't it? And now you can see this row is all done. See how you can actually see each individual carrot now instead of the absolute disaster that we had going on a few minutes ago. So this took me about 20 minutes to do. I have 3 rows of carrots here. Oops. And I got a couple that are big enough to eat. Check these out. But you can see what's starting to happen with these is it's starting to twist because they didn't have enough room. So I don't think I would ever wait this long to do this again, but of course it was because of the weather this year that it took me so long to thin these out. And I would have probably did it before I put this fencing up, because that made it a little extra difficult to bend down in there. But all in all, looks pretty good. Thanks for watching Maine Tiny Homestead.